Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eleni Anzelatis. I'm from Suburban Hospital's Community Health and Wellness team. Thank you for joining us today. Today we have Dr. Andrew Wong, who is an integrative medicine physician. He'll be talking to us about minding your mitochondria, advancing strategies for healthy aging, as we all want to live longer, happier, healthier lives. This is a very timely and important webinar today. Before we get started, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items. The first one being is that today's webinar is being recorded, and we will make it available in the coming days to you. I'll send out the link. Secondly, if you do have a question, which we hope you do, please use the Q&A box on the bottom of the screen, and you can put your questions in there, and Dr. Wong is going to take time after his presentation to answer those questions. Beforehand, Dr. Wong mentioned that he wants it to be interactive, and he welcomes your questions. So keep that in mind. And lastly, at the end of the presentation, at the end of our webinar today, there will be a link, and please click that link because it will direct you to our evaluation. We love to hear your feedback, what you found useful from the presentation, suggestions for the future webinars, seminars that we have at Suburban Hospital. And so I think that's everything. Dr. Wong, thank you very much for being here this afternoon. I am grateful for your time and sharing your expertise with our community, and we'll get started. Thank you.
Thank you, Lainey. Nice chatting with you beforehand, and thank you everyone for attending this. I'm really excited to talk with you today about minding your mitochondria, advanced strategies for healthy aging. I know that a lot of people, might go to the doctor for general checkups, and how many people, I was just thinking this as Eleni was talking, have heard, oh, it's just aging. Your joint pain is just aging, your memory is just aging. It's just old age, it's just aging. And I'm here to tell you, and we'll talk about this more in detail in this talk today, and we have time for questions at the end, is, aging can be healthy, aging can be very vibrant, and aging can be a, time of a chapter of life where, you're really imparting your wisdom to the world and your purpose to the world and really living in full joy. If you have kids, then, maybe they're growing up now and you don't have to take care of them as quite as much, maybe you still do. If you have been working, maybe you're still working, maybe you're retired, again, you want to be enjoying this time in life, and that's what healthy aging is about. Healthy aging is really about having enough energy to do all the things you love to do. I'm going to actually ask you, and Eleni, I'll do whatever you want to talk. So if you want me to kind of go through it more and then questions at the end, let me know. Otherwise, I will ask you, and you can write this in the chat if you're comfortable. If you would rate your energy, you can also keep it yourself. That's totally fine. This is just a community talk here on minding mitochondria. We're talking about mitochondria are the batteries inside your cell, the batteries inside your cell that produce energy. Think about the Energizer Bunny. We'll have a picture of that later. But rate your energy from 0 to 10. Just think about it. You can write it down in a notepad. You can type in the chat if you'd like to share with your neighbors here that are listening to this. What is your energy from 0 to 10, with 0 being no energy at all? Maybe you want to watch some Netflix on the couch. And 10 being, hey, I want to join the Paris Olympics. Is it still, is registration still open for the Olympics? That's a 10 right there. I've never had anyone say a 10, actually. That's kind of funny. Even athletes, when I'm talking to people in the clinic. But I'm curious what your energy levels are. I'll just rate mine just to be vulnerable here. I'm probably like about a 5 right now. I ate some lunch. I'm kind of sleepy. I'm just kidding. I'm awake, but I think just didn't get as much sleep last night as I wanted. So I'm gonna say a 5 on mine today. Sometimes it's much higher. Sometimes, I feel like I could try it for the Olympics for basketball, but height might be an issue. I might have to like stand on a ladder and then I can play. Got some 5s in there. Thank you for sharing here. We got an 8 in there too. I think she's going to Paris. I think she's going to Paris. So what we're looking for is, we got some 7s. That's great. That's great. We're really looking to see how to advance our energy, how to increase our energy, uplevel our energy by focusing on what's called mitochondrial health. So the mitochondria are these batteries inside your cells, but billions of years ago, when we were just one single-celled organisms or something like that in the algae pond, mitochondria actually developed because there were different organisms and they combined with each other in the pond. And so what happened was these cells then started to have organelles. They started to have these internal organelles called mitochondria. But basically, before all of that, billions of years ago, they were bacteria, they were organisms that were inside these single cell organisms. So mitochondria, you can literally look at them as your helpers. You know, they're your helpers, they're your workers, they're your worker bees. They're people that really, not people, I should say people. They're structures inside your cells that do your work for you in terms of giving you the energy so that you can go play piano, you can go dance, you can go play pickleball. Like these team of pickleball people right here. Healthy aging is defined by the World Health Organization as the following. It's the process of developing and maintaining a functional ability that enables well-being in older age. Now, I recently looked this up in the dictionary in 2024, and they actually revised the definition. Now it is WHO, this is a joke, okay, defines healthy aging as the ability to play a good game of pickleball. How many of y'all play pickleball? Anyone? Anyone play pickleball? So with pickleball, and I'll just say pickleball because that to me is the epitome of a mind-body exercise because you're essentially doing a sport. You know, you're increasing your cardiovascular function, you're helping your mobility and flexibility and hand-eye coordination, but you're also socializing, and we'll see later that socialization is a big factor in the mitochondria, and you're improving that mind-body connection with something like pickleball. When I was on vacation last year, and I was going to a tennis club for like tennis lessons, I realized that the tennis club had been renamed the Tennis and Pickleball Club. So pickleball is definitely part of healthy aging. I think I'll say the rest of my participatory questions a little bit later, just kind of pepper them in here, and we'll kind of go into some of the meat and potatoes of this. So when we look at staying healthy and healthy aging, and basically, you know, having enough energy to do all the things you love to do in your life, um, this is about a couple of approaches. So if you look at the tree, which is on the right-hand side of this diagram, you can see that we have the traditional medical model, which I think is very valid and very needed. That's the upper part. The upper part is saying, let's see what's going on with your system. Let's treat disease. Is there some sort of neurologic condition? You know, is there some sort of allergy? You know, maybe someone needs allergy treatments. Is there some sort of joint pain that could cause inflammation? Is there a gut issue? You know, you've heard of irritable bowel syndrome. So there's, you know, maybe you go to the GI doctor. Maybe there are some emotional issues and you might see a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a therapist. So that is a disease model, which is very valid, and it's something that we do also in our clinic. There's also simultaneous to that disease model, which is treating disease. We also want to, at the same time as we treat disease with either medications or surgery or consultations, we also want to optimize wellness. So you can do both at the same time. We can make the tree look pretty. We can treat symptoms. We can understand what's going on diagnosis-wise, but we can also nourish the root causes of wellness. What are the root causes of wellness? What are the root causes of illness? So if you look at the bottom of that tree there, we're talking about, you know, are we eating a good diet? You know, is there any sort of physical or psychological trauma that needs to be addressed? Are there other environmental stressors like toxins, pesticides, things like that? Emotional stresses. Sometimes there's side effects from medications or supplements. There could be infections. You know, we just have gone through this couple years of COVID here. And then in the middle is this pillars of health, is understanding the biological systems that make your system healthy and optimal. And I'm here today to say that thing you need to focus on, we all need to focus on really, is the mitochondria, which is batteries. If you have enough batteries in your system, all of these systems will work better. So what I put here is that if we focus on the baking ingredients of wellness, these, healthy sleep, healthy nutrition, healthy community, healthy exercise, movement, stress management, to take care of our mind, body, and spirit, diseases can be mitigated or even prevented. And this is what I practice, which is more integrative, holistic medicine, functional medicine. So what are the mitochondria? If you remember these commercials from the Super Bowls, I don't know if they still have these ads on, but you have the Energizer Bunny here, just keeps on going and going and going. And you have these people that you see, on TV, or maybe people like this, that they just are always on, and they always have the energy. And you're like the Energizer Bunny. Why are you like that? How do you have so much energy? How do you do it? Well, the way they do it is they keep their energy up and they keep their mitochondria healthy. They could also be drinking a bunch of Red Bull or coffee. I'm not sure. Either one of those. So what are the mitochondria? So the mitochondria are these organelles, like I said before, that are inside the cell, and they have different structures here. We have the outer membrane, the inner membrane. And basically what I want to say about this, that's the inner membrane is where the gold is. The gold in terms of your energy, units of energy, which, if you imagine being gold coins, you want more gold coins in your bank account, you want more energy units in your energy account. So the inner mitochondrial membrane is inside that mitochondria, inside that battery, and inside the battery is where the magic happens. That's where the energy gets produced. The energy gets produced mainly in something called the electron transport chain, and I'm simplifying it for all your bio majors. I was an English major, so please forgive me. But I'm going to simplify it because I'm a simple person. And I'm going to say that there's 5 train cars here, and there's 5 train cars in this electron transport chain, that at the end of that train car, that conductor is going to say, poof, here's a unit of energy for you. And I'm going to use that in my body, and I'm going to use that to eat or sing or laugh or dance or whatever, play pickleball. So you have these 5 different train cars, and there's biochemistry involved in this, but basically you need a lot of different nutrients and a lot of different factors and inputs, and what we said in the beginning, baking ingredients that are going to activate the mitochondria so the mitochondria can produce energy for you. And this is just a fancy kind of way to say, okay, there's a lot of biochemistry going on here with these train cars, also called complexes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At the end of that electron transport chain, your mitochondria produce what's called adenosine triphosphate, which is ATP, and that is the units of energy that you want to continue to be like this Energizer Bunny here. Strategy 1. So I know that all of you know that heart disease is the #1 killer for both men and women. But also, let's look at it from the health side. So if we look at how to improve circulation, and by definition, that's going to help prevent heart attacks and strokes, we want to improve circulation, because the mitochondria can produce energy for you. But how are the mitochondria going to have the baking ingredients to get that energy to you? The mitochondria need nutrients themselves. The mitochondria need oxygen and light and need nutrients like vitamins and foods. So without a proper circulatory system, the roadway that gets the nutrients to the mitochondria is narrowed or not there as much. So there won't be as many nutrients getting to the mitochondria, then leading to loss of energy. So for those of you that were at a 5 or below, let's say, or, in general, if you feel tired once in a while, think about how's your circulation. We can talk about the vascular endothelium. That is the inner lining of the artery. So that light pink circle is the vascular endothelium, and that is the largest organ in the body. You can't see it, it's inside of you, but that literally is 5 times the size of the heart in mass. I would argue that the heart is important. It certainly is important, but the vascular endothelium, which is the inner lining of the artery, is just as important as the heart, because that's where your circulation, basically flows, your blood flows throughout all of your tissues to give your tissues and cells and mitochondria all the nutrients that need to survive and thrive. So the vascular endothelium also is 6 times the size of a tennis court or a pickleball court in area, which means that it's a massive amount of surface area that can interact. And that interaction, I will say, just in passing, is that if that tennis court gets inflamed, if that inner lining gets inflamed, that is the root cause of high blood pressure. That is a root cause of most of heart attacks and things like that. So keeping this healthy, keeping this inner lining of the artery or endothelium healthy will be important for both heart health as well as heart disease prevention. So just what I said, improving this inner lining of the artery will reduce inflammation, improve blood flow, and reduce blood clotting risk, and will deliver more nutrients to the mitochondria for more energy. So how do we improve circulation? Number 1, 2, and 3, exercise. Now, this could be a traditional exercise, something like tennis, something like running or walking, hiking. It could be biking, could be swimming, something ideally you enjoy. Dancing is a really, really good cardiovascular exercise. We also think about weight training, of course, resistance training. It doesn't have to be at the gym with weights. It can be body weights at home. It could be push-ups and squats and sit-ups and things like that. You are exercising, you are moving your blood flow, you're exercising, you are reducing inflammation in your arterial lining, meaning the vascular endothelium. They did a study recently and they showed that ideally you want to exercise about 4 to 5 times per week. Now, if you are sedentary, if you have arthritis, if you have some deconditioning, meaning you haven't exercised in a while, don't go from 0 to 5 times a week. Go from 0 to 1 to 2 times a week, maybe 30 minutes a day. If you're at 0 minutes a day right now, go to 10 minutes a day, go to 5 minutes a day. Just start sitting up, standing up, and moving your body in a way that is safe for you. But exercise is very, very important. If you want to add a little bonus, add some mind-body components to it. Do some yoga, do some dancing, do some Tai Chi, do some things where you integrate the physical aspect of exercise with the mental stimulation aspect of exercise. And I will say from a happy mood chemical perspective, if you want to increase endorphins, because exercise increases endorphins, you ideally want to do a morning walk or something where you're going outside. I know it's really hot right now, but some sort of outdoor AM or evening walk or jog or something will be helpful for the endorphins and improve your circulation. How many people go to the YMCA or use sauna? Anyone use sauna in here? Sauna is super, super helpful for circulation, and that's why I put that in here. Sauna is going to be helpful because it also kind of heats the system up, the person's system up. Just like exercise, that will increase blood flow. It increases something called nitric oxide, which is the gas. It's a gas actually that is produced by the endothelium here. So nitric oxide or NO, that's different than nitrous oxide, which is laughing gas, which you might get at the dentist. Nitric oxide with the IC is going to be something that will help reduce blood pressure. It will help to increase blood flow. It's good for your immune system. When we talk about like how to prevent COVID, how to basically get your immune system a bit stronger and more resilient, increasing nitric oxide is the way to do that. Getting more blood flow to your organs means the following. Your mitochondria produce more energy, your heart gets more blood flow, your brain gets more blood flow, you start thinking better. Exercise and sauna both do that. Sauna, you're probably looking at 2 to 3 times a week, ideally. At least 10 to 20 minutes a session. I usually try to ask people to sweat for about 10 minutes in the sauna. That's usually pretty good enough. Then we have nitrate-containing foods, and we say nitrates because dietary nitrates basically activate and, get into the nitric oxide pathway and increase nitric oxide, which is what opens up the arteries. So greens are very helpful, lettuce, arugula, spinach, carrots, beets as well, are very, very helpful. They're nitrate-containing foods. They increase nitric oxide. And then hydration with electrolytes in general, especially since it's really hot right now, it's summer, we actually want to not just drink water, we want to drink water with a little bit of electrolytes, usually with a little bit of sodium and potassium, magnesium, things like that. You can also squeeze some lemon and the lemon water, add a little bit of pinch of salt, and that will be helpful for hydration. Got to stay hydrated to keep your circulation up. So that's improving circulation. If your blood pressure is high, there's certain medications that are, at least in my opinion, better than others. This is not in a medical visit here, but there are medications that will actually increase your nitric oxide, which is really, really helpful. They'll treat blood pressure, but also increase your nitric oxide. So ask your cardiologist about that if you have high blood pressure. Strategy 2 to mind your mitochondria, up-level your energy, up-level your mitochondria, increase nutrient status. Now, I don't think my gut looks exactly like that, but maybe something like that. Just Mitochondrial nutrition. So this is looking at nutrition in a different way, not only eating for health in general, but specifically eating for mitochondrial health. That's what we're talking about. Mitochondrial nutrition, nutrition for battery life, nutrition for battery power. That's what we're talking about. And really what we're looking at is focusing on healthy fats and proteins. Those are going to be very, very nutritious for mitochondria, things like it could be soy, it could be chicken, it could be fish. I think a little bit of red meat's okay once in a while. You're going to be looking at proteins. You're going to be looking at healthy fats, things like avocado and nuts and olive oil. But, in general, fats and protein are going to be very, very helpful for your mitochondria. Typically, a lower carb diet, not as many breads, not as many starches. That's going to help balance blood sugar. Your mitochondria batteries like some blood sugar. We do like some blood sugar. We don't like it to be low blood sugar, but we also don't want to be high blood sugar. That also is damaging to mitochondria. So keeping that blood sugar nice and even with mitochondrial nutrition. Foods with chlorophyll, so specifically those dark green leafy vegetables, they activate an enzyme called cytochrome oxidase C, which actually advances some of those train cars that we talked about before in the electron transport chain for the mitochondria to produce energy. So things with dark leafy greens, very, very helpful for you. Finally, for increasing nutrient status, sometimes it's not what you eat, it's what you absorb. If you are eating an amazing diet, but you're not absorbing those nutrients, then your ability of the gut to absorb nutrients is impaired. Think about, like, are you bloating? Do you have undigested food in your stool? Do you have pain while you're eating or after you're eating? Do you have diarrhea or constipation that is sort of not typical, or rather that's typically happening every day? This is maybe where there's some gut absorption issues. You want to talk to a provider that can talk to you about your gut health. You want to also try to optimize your gut microbiome. That is basically having the good, kind of more anti-inflammatory bacteria in the gut. You can eat things like prebiotic foods like kimchi and sauerkraut. And I think some people like kombucha. I'm a little bit thinking it's a little bit too fizzy for me, but yogurt, things like that are going to be helpful for the gut microbiome. And then there's certain nutrients that are very, very helpful for the mitochondria. We're talking about micronutrients, which are vitamins and minerals. These are some of the things that grease the wheel of the train car. So we have the train car that we talked about before. These actually grease the wheel so you can kind of jump from car to car to get to that energy production destination at the end of that electron transport chain. These are things like B vitamins. And I listed some of the B vitamins right here. B12 you see on there. Vitamin B2, B3, B5, B6, and B12. Magnesium is super, super helpful, activating the packets of energy called ATP. Iron, if it's low, if it's not low, you don't have to supplement with it or take more foods with iron. But if it's low, you definitely want to increase that because iron being low will be a rate limiting factor for energy production, meaning if you have low iron, you can do everything else perfectly fine, but you'll still feel fatigued because of the low iron. Coenzyme Q10. This is a vitamin that you might have heard of, a supplement you might have heard on if you are on a medication that is used commonly for cholesterol, like a statin medication. Some of you might be or know people that are. Then CoQ10 will often be depleted. CoQ10 is a necessary ingredient for mitochondrial health and for energy production. If someone is feeling more tired after being on a statin, it may be because their CoQ10 level is low. You can ask your doctor to check a blood level of CoQ10. You can try supplementing with CoQ10 to see if that helps a little bit. It is found in meat products, I think, at low levels, but a lot of times if people are on a statin, they might need to supplement. And usually in my practice, I will supplement with CoQ10 if someone's on a statin. There is a product called NAD. NAD is a long word. It stands for nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. That's a mouthful. You'll have the recording, so you can look that up online, but is a derivative of niacin or vitamin B3. But this particular type of vitamin B3 is called NAD, and that is a rate limiting factor, again, for energy production. No NAD, no energy. No NAD also means a lot of cellular health functions go by the wayside, including things like DNA repair. So NAD is a very, very, very useful and needed vitamin for life, I would say. And NAD levels do go down over time. So one of the big things I usually look at when people come to me for fatigue, they're not playing pickleball as well as they used to. They're not walking as well as they used to. They get tired more easily when they exercise the same amount that they were a year ago or something like that, 5 years ago. I think about, is their NAD levels going down? There's not a lab test for this, but not a easily available lab test, I should say, but you can supplement with NAD, and you can also exercise more. That's going to increase your NAD. You can also fast, do some intermittent fasting. Some people might want to try that out. If it's appropriate for you, talk to your doctor about that. But NAD is definitely one I think about when trying to optimize the mitochondria. Glutathione, that is a antioxidant, so it basically helps reduce inflammation, helps your system detoxify. Glutathione is the major antioxidant in the body. We call it the master antioxidant in the body. It is present in the cells at the same concentration as cholesterol. So it has to be pretty important if it's as common as cholesterol in your system. Glutathione is the firefighter to the fire. So if there's an inflammation or fire or that kind of thing in your body, then glutathione is going to come to the rescue and kind of put that out or neutralize that. So you need glutathione to prevent rusting of the body. You need glutathione to prevent over inflammation of the body. If someone has chronic pain, chronic inflammation, chronic illness, likely their glutathione levels are low. Studies show also that if someone is age over 85, everyone's glutathione levels after age 85 drops. So at 85 or up, take some glutathione. That's a general recommendation for mitochondrial health. This is kind of interesting. So now a lot more, we've been a lot more indoors in the last couple of years. A lot of people's day-night cycles have gone awry, but light is a very, very important substance for mitochondrial health. The mitochondria literally need light and needs light at the right time. So you want to have light ideally when you're awake, and when you're asleep, you want to have to be dark. So you can kind of see what happens here is that, the mitochondria get restored when you're sleeping, and then during the day, the DNA start getting restored and things like that. But basically, what you're looking at is trying to balance the day-night cycle in a regular way. Whatever kind of pattern you have, you want that pattern to be consistent. So the mitochondria respond to this light dark cycle and respond to it with regularity. So that's why you see, actually, I don't know if you have heard about this on like Guinness Book of World Records, but a lot of these people that are live until 100 plus, what do? They actually have a daily routine, and the light dark cycle is a routine for them. They wake up at the same time, they get to bed at the same time, they have their cup of tea, they exercise at the same time. This is this kind of circadian rhythm we talk about. Very, very useful for the body to have a general pattern, of daily activity. When the cycle is disrupted, your mitochondria don't like that. They can become dysfunctional, not producing as much energy. Then you'll feel kind of tired, things like that. Early morning outdoor time, very, very important. Get up, look at the sun, expose your eyes to the sun a little bit if possible. Start to put on, which I have on right now, these blue blocking glasses if you're in front of the computer. I pretty much now, as a rule, put on blue blocking glasses when I'm in front of a computer. It's blocking this blue light because otherwise the eyes are a little bit too close to the screen, whether it's a cell phone or a computer. Blue blocking glasses for me personally has really helped with improving energy, because blue blocking, the excess blue light has been shown to damage mitochondria. So that goes for fluorescent lights, that goes for lights from your screens, from your tablets, from your cell phones, from your computers that you might be, listening to this on Zoom. So wear blue blocking glasses, watch your energy go up. I've definitely seen that in my own life. Amber light in the evening, so that's firelight, moonlight, things like that. You want that kind of light in the evening. You don't want a lot of bright lights in the evening if possible, because that kind of tells your body that it's daytime, and it sort of disrupts that cycle, day-night cycle when you do that. Late night darkness, same thing. Put the curtains down, put the eye patch on, eye pillow on. You want to have at least 6 hours of straight darkness, even if you're not sleeping. I thought this was really interesting research. Even when you're not sleeping, if you can kind of close your eyes and get 6 hours of uninterrupted darkness, that is super, super helpful for your health and for mitochondrial health. So late night darkness, sleep and recovery. So how do we sleep better? If you have sleep apnea, if you are snoring, if you're kind of out of breath in the middle of the night, if you're waking up even after 8 hours with fatigue, even though you got a good night's sleep, you might have sleep apnea. Talk to your doctor, get that treated. You want to treat insomnia when present. It could be with meditation. It could be with medication. It could be with supplements. It could be with yoga. There's different things you can do. You want to treat insomnia, though, when present. Treat medical conditions that affect your sleep. Certain things affect people's sleep, chronic pain, shoulder pain, back pain, things like that, that affect the position of, when you're sleeping in bed. Reflux is another one. Reflux is another one. Urinary incontinence is another one. People getting up to the bathroom too much, from all of that, prostate symptoms, things like that. But, look at those medical conditions and actually treat them, and you can see your sleep get better as well. Remember, sleep is not just about going to bed, it's about having your mitochondria recover. So think about sleep as a mitochondrial recovery period, a battery recharge period, is what it is. And what I like to say is if you're driving your car around 24/7, it's going to run out of gas. You want to put it in the garage, let it rest a little bit. You want to let the engine rest a little bit. If you have an electric powered car now that we're getting to the electric era, so get it charged. Otherwise it's going to run out of battery. So same with your body. You want your batteries to be recharged every night, every time you're sleeping. And we talked about the aiming for at least 6 hours straight of closing your eyes and not exposing them to light. Improving oxygenation. So how do we take a deep breath in, and why is that so important? We all know that it helps calm us when we take a deep breath in, but if you want to put your hands on your belly, you can see that when you breathe in, see if your belly can expand when you take a deep breath in. When you expand your diaphragm, you're actually deepening the breath and you're increasing your oxygen, your lung capacity by about 50% or so if you do that. If you take a deep breath versus a shallow breath, you're actually increasing more oxygen. Oxygen is one of the key components to mitochondrial health. Your mitochondria need oxygen to survive and thrive and produce energy. The more oxygen that you have in your system and the more it's getting utilized by the mitochondria, the better it can be. Oxygen is like the flour in a floured cake. If you're trying to bake a chocolate cake, and you need the flour, the flour is the oxygen. If you're trying to, let's see, that's a good analogy. I'll just leave it at that. So you want enough oxygen, and that starts with deep breaths in and out, deep, slow breaths. Very, very, very important here. Oxygen is a key nutrient for the mitochondria, helps power that electron transport chain. You want to treat anemia if present, that's a low red blood cell count. You also want to improve oxygenation through exercise, specifically interval training if possible. That's where you're doing some moderate activity and then some vigorous activity for 30 to 60 seconds and then back to moderate activities. You're kind of alternating back and forth. That's training your mitochondria as well. As you get more lean and fit that way, your mitochondria also become more lean and fit. No smoking, of course. And then breath work, which we just kind of practiced a little bit there, focusing on diaphragmatic expansion. If you put 2 hands on your belly, you should ideally feel your belly rise and fall. That's how you know you're kind of taking a deep breath and getting more bang for your buck, more oxygen for each breath. How do you improve oxygen delivery and absorption? So now you're increasing your oxygen, you're increasing your red blood cells, you're doing exercise, you're increasing your circulation, you're not smoking. How are you going to increase oxygen absorption, which means how do you get the oxygen to your tissue level? So the oxygen's in your bloodstream now, how do you get it delivered to the tissue level? One of the things we're doing in our clinic now, which I can answer more questions about in the end, is called IV ozone therapy. Ozone is an activated oxygen. Oxygen is O2, ozone is O3. This is not about the ozone that gets struck by lightning. Oxygen gets struck by lightning, becomes ozone. We have a medical generator, great generator in our clinic, and basically this helps to activate oxygen, gives people more energy, gives people more mitochondrial health through the ozone therapy. So we can talk about that more if you like. Strategy 5 for mitochondria, improving cell membrane health. The health of your body is determined by the health of your cell membranes. The cell membranes surround each of your cells. They're the gatekeeper for nutrients in. They're also the gatekeeper for toxins out. If you have a healthy cell and a healthy cell membrane, you'll have more nutrients in and you'll have more waste products out, and then you'll have more energy as a result of that because you'll have decreased inflammation. Your mitochondria will work better because there's a cleaner environment inside the cell. If you work in an office or if you're at home, do you want a clean environment or a dirty environment? Of course, you want a clean environment, and that's going to keep your performance better. So that's the same way with the performance of your cell. Healthy nutrients in, waste products out, healthy cell, clean environment, happy mitochondria, which means they're going to produce more energy for you. Here's some things that improve cell membrane health. These are specific components of the cell membrane. That's the little building blocks of the cell membrane. There's something called PC. That's not personal computer. That's phosphatidylcholine, or PC. And that's a type of fat that's found in, choline is a fat that's found in eggs, liver, and other things, other foods. So you can get choline from that. You can get it from supplements. Omega-3s, that's found in fish and flaxseed, nuts, and seeds. Omega-9 is also oleic acid found in olive oil. And then phosphatidylserine. There's probably some food sources. I know there's a supplement form that I use a lot, so I put supplements on there. If the cortisol is high, you want to try to balance and calm your system down. If you feel wired at night and you can't sleep, you might have high cortisol. Phosphatidylserine can help for that. And it can help your cell membrane health. And then rebounding, which is basically you can go on a trampoline, or you don't have to go on a trampoline. You can actually just kind of shake and kind of dance a bit, and you're kind of jiggling your body and moving your body, and that actually shakes up your whole body and gets more nutrients into your cell, gets toxins out of your cells. So do some rebounding, do some dancing. That's very, very helpful for membrane health. Mindset and community. So probably the most important, and I've said this many times on the community lectures here. I really appreciate your time here. But the mitochondria are actually, believe it or not, I really had to read this article over and over to really believe this, but they've done studies that show that when you're stressed, your mitochondria are affected. When you're stressed, that reduces your energy, and it's because your mitochondria are affected. Your mitochondria are very, very intelligent. I wouldn't say creatures because they're part of you, but they're organelles that are very responsive to environmental inputs. That includes stress. That includes a lot of lifestyle factors. So toxic thoughts and psychological stress have been shown in research now to damage and impair the batteries inside your cell, the mitochondria. Your thoughts, emotions, and feelings will influence your energy. I thought this was really interesting. Did you know that your heart, well, you know this, your heart is an electrical organ. When you go to the doctor and they do your checkup, maybe they'll do a EKG, right? You've had EKG before, possibly. EKG works because that's an electrocardiogram. It's an electric test, because we are all bodies of electricity, okay? So the heart has some electrical component, the brain has some electrical component, the whole body has electrical components. And the heart has a sphere, basically a sphere, where there's a bunch of, energy kind of radiating around that, and that can be measured actually as electromagnetic energy. And there's about 8 to 10 feet of energy around your entire heart, from front to back, left to right, up to down. So that does affect energy and the people that you're with, and including yourself. You always have to be around yourself. So why not optimize your own electromagnetic energy and your own joy and your own mood and feelings in order to optimize your mitochondria? Because let's face it, you're around yourself all the time, right? So we might as well optimize that. And that starts with the breath work, and that starts with mind-body connection, and some of these other things that I'm going to mention, like morning routine, getting in the proper mindset, gratitude for just being alive. That's what I do every day. Moving my body, going to the gym or going outside, journaling, top 3 things I'm grateful for that day. How do I want to show up that day? Getting outdoors, getting the endorphins in, activating your mitochondria that way with the sunlight, with the fresh air. Evening routine, same thing, mindset. Maybe a little bit of healthy reading, maybe a little bit of journaling. I don't count newscast as healthy social media, but mindset, reading, journaling, something inspiring, preparing for the next day, kind of what's the next day bringing for you. There's always another day, as I think a famous musical once said, right? There's always another day, there's always a tomorrow. So what does that mean? That's going to bring you hope for the next day, regardless of how that day went, and that's going to help up-level your mitochondria. Positive affirmations, gratitude again, journaling, and also turn to that person next to you. If you're sitting next to someone watching this or listening to this, give them some verbal appreciation. Give them a text message, give them a phone call, give them a Facebook, what do you call it? Facebook chat or something like that, right? Anything like that, or just in person, of course. Show them that you love them, thank them for being there in your life. That also improves your mitochondria. Community builds mitochondria. Connection builds mitochondrial health. Joy, purpose, and meaning in life build mitochondrial health. A sense of belonging and serving others, or being there for others. Just like the mitochondria are there for you, you are there for your fellow human beings. I'm here for you. I'm really glad to have this talk. I know this is kind of a non-traditional talk, but I hope that you understand that when you build the mitochondria, you build your energy up and you build your whole mind, body, spirit up. And that's going to bring you much greater, hopefully, zest for life and aliveness in life, and really, hopefully, give you better quality of life. So I want to thank you for attending today. Total well-being, like I said, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual health, and have some time for questions. Here's a picture of a mountain lake, and this is another way to up-level mitochondria. Actually, is close your eyes and think of your favorite place, which I call the serenity spot. This is a lake in Tibet, and so this is kind of like go here, kind of zen out here, or just kind of not zone out, but just be very peaceful and calm, and that's going to increase my energy. So thank you very much. I'm going to stop sharing and we can have some time for questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Wong. As you were talking, I like made notes of a few things. We talk about food and how food is medicine and how it nourishes you and it provides energy. And then you mentioned some foods that, are good for our bodies. But I guess what I wanted to ask was, you know, there's always this, I guess is we lean towards like organic foods and how organic is the best. Do you know that if do you have any guidelines, because organic food is expensive as well, but do you have any like suggestions for those who are trying to incorporate more fruits and vegetables into their diet, how they can do that in a way that's not going to necessarily um put a strain on one's wallet these days?
Yes. Thank you. And we didn't rehearse this, but you set me up perfectly for
Oh,
um thank you, Lainey. So there is a site, if you want to Google it, it's called Environmental Working Group. If you heard of that, EWG, Environmental Working Group has a list they publish annually every year. One is called the Dirty Dozen, and that's the top 12, quote unquote, dirty fruits and vegetables that you want to try to buy organic if possible. If you're trying to target which ones you want to spend more money on, in terms of organic, you want to spend money on the Dirty Dozen. You want to make those the clean ones, the organic ones. There's also a list called the Clean 15. That's the 15, they rank that every year. And there's a 15 fruits and vegetables, foods that basically are clean, relatively clean, and not having a lot of pesticides, whether you buy them organic or quote unquote regular. They tend to be foods with peels on them, or like tough skins and stuff. So if they do spray chemicals on them, they don't really get into the inner part of the food that you're eating. So that's one way to do that on a budget. I think in terms of health and mitochondria, the phytochemicals that are present in either organic or regenerative agriculture, should have a beneficial effect on the mitochondria, more than quote unquote regular food. But you can definitely get nutrients either way. And I think if you're trying to budget things, it's really, I think eating fruits and vegetables is better than not eating them.
that is true. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so we have some questions here. Huh. Do you recommend a multivitamin for ages 65 plus? Are you looking for a brand or a specific, or just a multivitamin? So you did speak about vitamins.
I think to get the biggest bang for your buck, I think that a multivitamin would be reasonable if you are over 65. Um, I think not everyone needs a multivitamin, but there have been some studies, and there is some research that's conflicting on this, but there are studies, for instance, that show that taking a multivitamin every day prevents cognitive decline, or I should say it reduces the risk of cognitive decline. We know this is probably from the B vitamins in there, and that's probably why. So if you had to do one thing, it's probably take B vitamins in the multivitamin. But I would say, honestly, I don't take a multivitamin every day. I mean, I do a lot of the days, but if I don't, it's okay. But I think if you are fatigued, if you have energy issues and you're not feeling well, if you have a chronic illness like diabetes, or if you have chronic pain, arthritis or something like that, if you have heart disease, yes, then I would take a multivitamin. So I think you can use it for prevention. Supplements are not technically indicated for prevention of anything by the FDA, just so everyone knows. But in terms of if you had a chronic illness or chronic health condition, then yes, I think it would be a reasonable thing to do as a supplement, right? As a supplement to the whole food diet.
Great, thank you. How can you supplement PAC if you are subject to constant stress through family situation or job?
Maybe I'm not sure what PAC means, but
I guess how do you help your body? How do you help your body? We all have stress in our lives, whether it's, stress from chronic disease, stress from chronic pain, stress from family, friends, the news. How can we really, improve our stress levels? I mean, obviously through breathing and looking at the beautiful pictures as well. But is there anything else that we can do that helps um helps with our stress levels?
yes, yes. So when you're moving your body, when you're exercising, when you're kind of moving the energy, because that's what you're doing when you're exercising, that's when you actually want to integrate the mind and body. You want to start adding in positive affirmations. I got this today. Hey, whatever got me down yesterday, it's not going to get me down today. Today's a new day, something like that. You actually say these messages to yourself while you're moving, while you're walking, while you're hiking, while you're exercising. That integrates the brain and body together when you do that. That's a more effective way versus like exercising, but then you're thinking about the stress and then you're trying to do some meditation later. You actually want to link them together at the same time while you're doing that, while you're doing the exercise. So that's one. Um, the other thing I would say is, and you can't really do this while you're driving or something, but or while you're walking in your neighborhood, but if you're sitting and you're at a safe place, you want to close your eyes. Here's the reason. I'm going to close my eyes right now for like 5 seconds. When I'm closing my eyes, I'm shutting off my visual cortex. My visual cortex is the primary source of stress. Think about running away from a tiger right now. That's stressful. Why? Because your visual cortex got activated. You started thinking, "Oh man, this tiger's going to eat me," you know? So, so if you can shut off your visual cortex or you can change it to a vacation spot you like, a safe space you like the Tibetan lake, you're taking the cortex into a better place. But you can also do meditation and shut off the visual cortex, but sometimes what you got to do is close your eyes. So one thing we shouldn't do, and I know I shouldn't say this because we're on Zoom, but don't go on Zoom as much. Don't go on Facebook as much. Don't go on your screens as much. That visual cortex is stressful if it's activated too much. The brain is about the cortex is about 75% visual, and it's about 25% the other four senses. In other words, the smell, the taste, the touch, and all that, the hearing. The visual is 75%. So we have a big part of our brain that's a visual cortex. If we can give that a rest, just like we give our cars a rest to cool them down, I was commuting over here to Potomac and sometimes I do this commute, and it's like it's 95 degrees outside. When I open up my computer, the computer is like boiling, it's like super hot. Our brains and bodies going to be super hot, going to be super stressed if we don't give that visual cortex a break. So give the visual cortex a break. Try this right now if you're sitting at home or somewhere and say if you could close your eyes just even for like 5 to 10 seconds, you'll see that your body will start to relax a bit, start thinking about some safe spot, some enjoyable spot for you, or just kind of shut it off and listen to some music or something, but do something that is non-visual. Do something that's non-visual. That is a good way to reduce some of that stress. um, and then, yeah, I mean, I think those are the two things I would say. And then the other thing about stress and energy, getting you back to mitochondria, is if you have more energy and you have more mitochondrial function, you will be more resilient. You'll literally have more battery power to deal with the stress because the stress is going to be there, right? Right, Eleni? Stress is going to be there. If we have more energy reserve, we won't be as irritable because we'll have more reserve, more margin. So I think the other thing is, am I tired? Am I hungry? Am I hot? Any of that stuff. And go do those things, go take a nap, go get a snack, take a break from whatever you're doing, get off the screen for a few minutes, get outside if possible, stuff like that, I think is super, super helpful. But yeah, give your mitochondria a recharge.
There's some questions in the Q&A and the chat about exercise and working, and exercising outside in a warm environment. You mentioned about a sauna, how it can be good as well. So I just wanted to, there have been some questions about, is it okay to to exercise in this hot environment? Um, I think the answer might be no, because it will
I don't think
dehydrate you.
I think I mean, yeah, I hate to say this because I love exercise, but I would probably not exercise heavily when it's over 80 degrees. The reason is the following, because your heart and your mitochondria and your muscles don't work as well. They're not as efficient. If you look at running times, if you look at track times, like all the different athletes, people don't run as well, they don't perform as well, and your body doesn't perform as well in the heat. So probably, optimal temperature might be between 60 and 80 or something like that. But, if you need to, I mean, what I try to do is I'll exercise in the morning or I'll go to the gym where it's like air conditioned. But yeah, I mean, if you that's the only time you have to exercise is, during a lunch break or something like that, you can get outside, just do something light, stay hydrated, if I don't want you to especially if you have any health conditions, whoever's asking that question, just kind of take it easy, but you should know that above 80 degrees, that is not an optimal time to exercise, unfortunately. Yeah.
And then sleep. So you talked about sleep and how to turn off, you should turn off your phones. You shouldn't look at the phones before you go to bed, certainly, and giving your brain a break. If people are still having trouble sleeping, do you suggest melatonin supplements?
I would start with Yoga Nidra. So there's actually a free app, which is ironically on a phone, but you can literally lay down for 10 minutes and calm down your mind. The other thing I'd like to do is read a book that is not super exciting, like a fiction book or something like that. Like those fiction books, I mean, I could read that for like an hour. That's why I try not to read fiction too much, but although they're good, but I'll read a book about medicine or health because I'm always researching that. I'll read a book about personal development, something that's more like concrete, and I tend to fall asleep pretty easily. That's what works for me. Melatonin is really helpful. There's actually 20 or more different biological functions. I'm glad you brought that up. Thanks for asking that. Melatonin has antioxidant effect. Melatonin has anti-tumor effects. Not saying it treats cancer, but it does have anti-tumor effect. It can reduce the environment from which cancer could thrive. So that's good. It has an anti-inflammatory effect. So it has a lot of other effects besides helping with sleep onset. I think melatonin, you're probably trying to keep it to say 1 to 3 milligrams of that if you wanted to dose, but you can go higher than that. You can get groggy from melatonin if you take too much of it, but yeah, and melatonin I think is a very safe supplement in general, and it is one that I think has other multiple additional health benefits. Yeah.
Great, thank you. The question here, does reading on the iPad before sleep interfere with sleep?
It, well, you tell me if it does for you. I think that I try to read paper books myself
Mhm.
because of that, but in general, if you wear these blue blocking glasses like this, they have them for nighttime, and or if you have what's called I think it's called F.Lux, which is a blue blocking screen add-on that you can put on your phone, then it blocks the blue light. So that would make it less damaging if you did that, and I think that would be a good way to do it.
Yeah, I've had a terrible, I'm admitting this on Zoom. I have a terrible habit of being on my phone before I go to bed. And I noticed that it takes my brain longer to quiet down. So now I've gone to reading and on a paper book, and yeah, it's easier for me to fall asleep. So there is, there is that too.
Yeah.
Um, let's see here. There's so many questions and we have little time left. Do you have any suggestions for those who are above 60 and are heavily under everyday work stress and pressure. I see a lot of agitations in this age group who have real severe work stress.
Yes. Well, thank you for that question. It's a great question. First of all, I think whatever the problem is, and I'm going to do this right now to demonstrate, you won't solve the problem by leaning into the stress. That's the thing. You won't solve the problem by stressing out about it. It's really about taking a 30,000-foot view and looking at it from a forest view. So I would say that it's very, very hard, actually impossible to control the stress. Like you can't, there's a lot of things that are not within our control. Really, the only thing that's within your control is your own response. What is your own response? How are you going to show up in that workplace? What's your attitude going to be? What's the energy that you're going to bring? What's your purpose? And that's going to be what's going to like allow you to hike up that mountain or allow you to get through that muddy trail of stress, what other people are saying, what other people are thinking, their energy, you don't let that get to you. You create your own energy field and you can manage that. The more you can manage that, and the more that you can, I wouldn't say, it's not like you're a bubble person. You can't isolate from people because they're going to bring their energy in, but you just got to kind of manage your own energy and do your thing. And that's the real way to do it. Yeah. It's easier said than done. So I do appreciate that question.
I do too. Um, this is another going back to the foods. Are there any foods to eat instead of taking a CoQ10 supplement?
Yeah, I've tried to look into that. I think red meat is actually a relatively good source of CoQ10, but in terms of the milligrams, it's doesn't approach the dosage. If you're on a statin, you should probably at least get a blood work, done by your doctor to see if you're low. I've had people where they have muscle aches, they feel tired, and you check their CoQ10 level, they're on a statin, that's low. You give them a CoQ10 supplement, their energy levels go up, their muscle aches go down. And there's studies to prove that. I think they did a study in cyclists because cyclists obviously using their leg muscles a lot. If they were on a statin, the CoQ10 went down. If they, got the CoQ10 supplement, then it went up. So, yeah, it's an important one, I think, if you're on a statin for sure.
Um, okay, well, we're out of time, but Dr. Wong, do you or maybe someone else in your staff who's might be online could put down your contact information for those who might want to reach out to you? Um,
Yes. They were here, but I think they're probably about to
okay.
see patients again. So yeah, I can give you the what is better to give here. I don't know.
A phone number?
Okay, okay. I'll do the phone number.
A phone number. So in case anyone would like to talk to make an appointment with Dr. Wong, and talk to him further about your own individual health needs, ailments, questions, um, please, give him a call. Um, and your office is in Rockville.
We
I'm
have
correct.
two offices. They're both in Montgomery County. One is they're both pretty close to suburban. One is in Bethesda, one is in
Okay.
Potomac. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Dr. Wong. Thank you for sharing your time, your knowledge with everyone. I always learn so much and I appreciate your time. And thank you everyone for being here this afternoon.
Thank you, everyone.
And I will make the uh, recording available in the next coming days. So take a look at that and please don't forget to complete the evaluation. Thank you and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.